Hey guys, welcome back. This is Faisal Khan from Voice Bootcamp. In this particular lab, I'm going to show you how to create network trunk, a trunk group for IP IVR, and how to correlate that with the UCCX CTI route, CTI ports. Now, a trunk group or a trunk is basically a logical connection where a routing client will deliver the call to the group at a peripheral. Now, a network trunk group, on the other hand, is a collection of a peripheral trunk group which can be mapped to a single trunk group at a peripheral or a multiple trunk group if needed be. Alright, so let's get started. So right now I am on my admin server. So what I'll do in my admin server, I'll open the configuration manager. And go to Tools, Explorer, and there's something called Network Trunk Group Explorer. So right now, as you can see, there is no trunk group currently configured. What I'm going to do, I'm going to select PG IP IVR. That's the PG that I'm going to work on. And then I'm going to create a new trunk group. So let's call this, I don't know, we can call it Toronto, for example. Now in that particular trunk group, I'm going to create a new trunk. I'm going to choose a peripheral, in this case PG IP IVR. Now this is very important, peripheral number, this ID number 0. What's going to happen is on your UCCX server, you're going to have a call control group. So this is my call control group. Oops, I have to log in. I'm going to add a new call control group if you already do not have one. So let's call this, I don't know, call control group. Number of ports, four simultaneous calls. Let's make it 10. We will call this CCG. Starting number, let's say 2301. All right, so let's click on add. So I have 10 port that is going to create 2301 to 2310 because the number of port that I'm selecting is 10. And this is my call manager. I should see those port being created as a part of phones. So I must go to device menu, go to phones, and I should start seeing those port number being added there, right there. Well, that is from the previous. This is the one, CCG 2301. So let me delete the other 3. Alrighty. So we'll wait for a few minutes for this port to be created. It tells you which port it is creating. So this group ID that you see right here, 2. That is your peripheral ID number. So again, you can see number of CTI ports created is 10. So that is these are my number 2301, 2302. This is my number of ports, and this is a group ID. So we need to assign that peripheral number right here as 2. As far as the peripheral name, you can call it TG Network Trunk Group Toronto. Kind of give it a let's call it a short form, TOR. Now extension is only required if you're going to be pointing to an Avaya platform, but in this case we're not. So we save this. Now once we save the trunk group, we're going to add a trunk. Now here's the thing, If I had a second peripheral, let's say this is PG IVR1. If I had a second one, I could under Toronto add another trunk group, but pointing to, sorry, not that, pointing to different peripheral, for example. So what network trunk group does is a collection of trunks. Okay. So we have network trunk group, and then finally under trunk group we're going to create what we call is network trunk. Sorry, a trunk group. So here we're going to add a trunk. Trunk number will be 0. Number type, you can make it a central if you're connected to central office or foreign exchange and station. Just leave it. You can say DNIS, which is based on the dial number, and save. Okay, so now that we have created a trunk, we're going to associate this trunk to a service. The service that we will need to apply when we apply that to our scripting. So under the configuration, you're going to go to service tab and again choose the IP IVR, and we're going to add a new service. Let's call this SRVTOR, Toronto service. Save. Add a route for this service so it can be route to it. TOR RT. All right. Now we're gonna now that the service is created, we need to tell the system which trunk group and therefore which peripheral it is associated with. So in the service, we're going to add, in the route, we're going to add a peripheral target. The peripheral target, so here we can put an arbitrary number, so say 9000. We're going to choose the network group, Toronto, and we're going to save that. Now if I want to return this, we can also of course add a label to the same routing client, such as a call manager. 9000 should be returned. Alright, so once my service has been associated with my trunk, I will then create translation route. Okay, it's already associated. I'll choose a different PG, so PG IP IVR. We will add a new translations route, so let's call it UCCE TR trans RT. Add a route to it. Oops, let me just refresh it. The service we're going to use the same as PG IP IVR SRVTOR, and then we're going to add a target. Now this one represent the CTI route point that we're going to create in the contact center express. So once you have done this, you're going to have a trigger created here. So let's create an application. We'll call this ICM translation routing. Let's call this help desk 10. Okay, so add. So we're basically creating an add help desk, and then we're going to add a trigger. Now this trigger right here is important. We will define So let's create a trigger called 2300. This is the trunk group that we're going to use, and we're going to add a label to your call manager. 2300. Okay, so let's save that. So now we are going to we're going to add a trigger here onto our application. Put 2300. Okay, so you can see help desk trigger has been created. Okay, so whenever you dial 2300 is going to be the label that is returned for this particular translation, which will go to that particular application called help desk. Now, I also need to create in my call manager. So if I go to CTI route point, now I already have a bunch of directory number created, actually, rather. So this is the UCCX. So let's say I choose to use 3000. 3000 is already defined, and I'm going to associate my script to the 3000. And 3000 is basically a dial number configured in your UCCX. If I go here, dial number, you'll see 3000 is associated with your routing client called publisher. So basically what's going to happen is when we dial through the script, the call will come in here. The script will tell you to use a service, use a translation, what do you call that? Use a translation route based on the service called Toronto. So this is the translation route. Choose IP IVR cluster. So I have a translation route called translate RT, which has a route that will have a peripheral. The target peripheral is to return the label called 2300. So it's going to, of course, initiate a connection to the number 2300, which is right here, goes to UCCX server, and UCCX will of course trigger this application, which is basically a translation pattern application. Alright, so the next step of course is to create the application script to test the call. So just to create a very basic script, so let's choose a new routing script, and we're going to say translate route to VRU. So let's first select if it is false, goes here, but if it is true, meaning that agent is available, it will go to skills group. So in the translation route, I'm going to right click, go to properties, choose IP IVR, serve Toronto, condition equal 1. We'll talk about condition later. And the route is going to be this. Translation route, we're going to use UCCE trans RT. All right, so we're going to save this script. Let's call this lab 7. Network trunk group. Okay, so there is a warning. So we're gonna have to do a quick validation to see what's missing. Failed connection is missing, so there we go. So let's put an end. And for the translation route to VRU, if it is successful, we're going to play a script. We're going to run a script. Let's call this well, we need to add a network VRU script first. So going back to your configuration, choose network VRU list. We're going to add a new one. We're going to call this collect digits. IVR VRU. The name of the file is called collect digits.aef. Now usually you don't have to put the extension. You could leave it as it is, collect digit for example, or basic queue. So you can save. Once you save that, you should be able to select. You may have to go save mode. Go back to edit mode, and there you go, collect digits. If it fails, goes here. If it is succeed, it should queue the call to the same group. If the queuing fails, we're going to select the sales, as that's where the agents are coming in from. Sales route. And you can use the translation route trip IVR if you want to. Let's try without it first. Okay, let's validate. It has no target. Success connection is missing. Now after you queue the call, of course you gotta play more other activities. So we can also end the call if you need. Now when the call goes to queue, you can of course announce something. For example, agents are busy. That will be done through the play collect digit scripts. For now, just gonna keep it very simple. Okay, so let's test it, validate, save. We're going to map the script to call type 3000. Okay, we're gonna modify this. Lab 7 translation route. Okay, so now we're going to dial 3000. The call will come to UCCE, hit the available agent. If agent available, go to the skills group. If not available, translate the route based on this service. route through this SRV TORRT through this translation route, which will yell out the extension 2300 back to the call manager. Okay, so I tested it. Now I'm going to make a call. Actually, before I make a call, I gotta go back to UCCX, create the ICM script, VRU script. So I'm gonna add a new script. We're gonna call this script collect digits. The script we're gonna use is the one that already exists. I believe there should be one that there, right there, collect digits, and then say add. Okay, so now we're gonna test the call. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a monitor mode. Going to make the call. And let's log in as agent as well. Connect to that.
Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please consult your directory.
Okay, I got my agent up and running. vmali password 3101. Okay, so agent is logged in but not ready mode. Let's run the debug to see what happens to the call. So this is my script. So if I dial the number 3000,
please enter your account
it says please enter your account number. And you'll notice the call came in from here to here, and it's supposed to go to skills group if the agent is available, but because there is no agent logged in, it has to wait for the call to pass through here. So I'm just waiting for this. See, there you go, it refreshed it to number 3. That means that's the previous call, and it came to the collect digit, which will send the calls here. It did go through the service translation route. So when the call hits this particular statement, translation route, what happened is it looks at the service called SRVTOR, and as it goes through the SRVTOR, which is your service that you have created under IP IVR, is going to the SRVTOR, and it is sending to target call SRVTOR. Well, target is the Toronto network. You notice here network trunk group. This number is really not that relevant. You just put any number you want. Network trunk group TOR. So it will then hit network translation group that we have here. So the call will come in to IP IVR through this. Now, because in the script we are saying that use this translation route UCCE, so what is happening is the call will go through the translation route. So the translation route suggests that return this label 2300. So now the call is going to the UCCX, well, to the call manager first. Call manager is sending the calls to the UCCX server. UCCX server has a trigger called 2300, which opens the application called help desk, and help desk happens to be a translation route application, so which we created by going to application management, add new, and by selecting translation routing, ICM translation routing. So it is important that the VRU script is created, because this application, of course, the script at somewhere say run external script, you must have that network VRU scripting created, which has the collect digit. Basically, it's just name of the file, and that name is actually coming from right here. Now, if an agent is available, so the behavior of the call will be what? Let's double check that. So go there, make it ready, and now redial. So you can see reserved. There you go, call came in. Took a little time, but call did came in. All right, so that's the behavior of translation route, and that concludes this particular lab.